Hi, welcome back. On this episode, we're going to change our coils, our spark plug caps, our spark plugs, and also the spark plug wires. They're molded into the new coils. Don't forget to subscribe. It helps me out big time, so subscribing is greatly appreciated. Also, check me out on Instagram at Clara Garage. You can also join the Clara Garage YouTube channel and become a member and get earlier access to videos. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so this is the 2006 Yamaha Roadstar Silverado. This is the 1700 version. The 1600 should be identical or almost identical. So we're going to change the coil for both the back cylinder, which is our number 1 cylinder, and the front cylinder, which is our number 2 cylinder. We're going to change all 4 spark plugs, and we're going to change the plug caps. So before we get into it, I'm going to read off all the part numbers that I'm using. They're all genuine Yamaha parts. Alright, so the back coil is the one with the longer plug wires on it, and the wires are labeled 1 and 2. And the part number on this is 5VN-82310-00. That's our one coil. And then our coil for the front cylinder is 5VN-82310-10. And the plug wires on this are also labeled 3 and 4. And both the front and the back coil are different. And then the plug caps that go on the left side of the bike, their part number is 4VW-82370-00, and you need 2 of them, 1 for each cylinder. And then the plug caps on the exhaust side of the bike, or the right side of the bike, you'll need 2 of those as well, 1 for each cylinder. And the part number is 4NK-82370-00. And then I ordered new dampers as well. I really didn't need to, but I didn't look at the old ones. I didn't have the tank off. I didn't look at them. I just ordered all the parts just because I wanted to change all this stuff. And for the amount that I was paying for everything, for the price of the 2 of these, I figured I was already in pretty deep, so I might as well put new ones on. And their part number is, and you need 2 of them, and their part number is 4U8-82317-00. And then I got 4 spark plugs. The plug number is they're NGK plugs that I run, and that's what came with the bike from the factory. They're the NGKRs. And the plug number is DPR7EA-9. And then there's another number above it that I'm assuming is just like a stocking number or something, 5129. But the important number is the DPR7EA-9. So all of that stuff, which really isn't that much, came to around $808 plus tax. So it was pretty expensive, more than I'd like it to be. The reason why I'm changing them, I was planning on changing them this following winter once I'm over 200,000 kilometers. But I'm going on a big trip. I'm putting on about 11,000 kilometers in about 9 or 10 days. And I wanted to have spare coils with me just in case, because I have the original coils in here. And this bike has about 189,000 kilometers on it. So it's getting close to 200,000 kilometers. By the time I get back, I'll be over that. And the ignition system's all original. And I thought it was something that I could change that is one less thing that should fail on the road. It should be giving a little more reliability just because the bike's getting old and it has high mileage. So it's kind of more so peace of mind for me. And I'll probably carry the old stuff with me just in case. If you do lose a coil, or if someone that you're with lose a coil, you can at least make it work to get home or get somewhere better than wherever you break down. Alright, so we're going to get started on this. So I already got the tank and everything ripped off. I did another video before this where I did I checked the valves on it, did compression tests and all that kind of stuff. So if you need to see how to take the tank and everything off, that is, check out episode 24, and it'll show you how to remove the gauges and the tank and all that kind of stuff. And then I have a compression test video that I did a long time ago. That would be episode 30 if you want to see how to do a compression test. If you have the tank off and you're changing the plugs and that, it's not a bad idea to check the health of your engine. If you have really low compression, could be rings or could just be your valves need to be set or reset. So it's not a bad idea whenever you have the tank off and you're doing anything and you have the plugs out, do a compression test while you're there, and it'll give you a little inclination of the health of your motor. And then to put the tank and everything back on, check out episode 31, and that will show you in good detail on how to put the tank and everything on. And then to reset the clock on your cluster, check out episode 32. That episode is just how to set the clock on your bike. Alright, we're going to take the coil off for our back cylinder first. That's our number 1 cylinder. It doesn't matter which cylinder you start with. It's just the order I'm going to do it. So we're going to have to undo a couple ties. And one thing I'd like to show. So here's our coil here. And on our one wire that's furthest out, I just used a paint pen and put a little dot on it. So I know that this is my furthest out wire. So there's no way I can possibly get the 2 wires for the coil reversed. It shouldn't matter, but it's not a bad idea to keep everything the way it was. And I did the same thing on the other coil as well. So we're going to loosen off this zip tie. These are the nice factory ones. So there's a little pull on the bottom, and you pull that out. And then your zip ties come right off, so they're reusable, which is really nice. And then there's a little clamp there. And there's a clamp right here. This wire here goes to the spark plug on the other side of the cylinder. This clamp just keeps the wires nice and neat. We're just going to put this off to the side for now because we're going to reuse it. And then we're going to pull our plug wires off. And keep in mind that the odd numbers are on the left-hand side of the bike and the even numbers are on the right-hand side of the bike. So we got number 1. And then number 2, it's hard to read, but that says number 2. And then back on this side, we got number 3. And then it's number 4 on this side here. And then the same thing with this, we just gotta loosen that off. And now we got our both plug wires off on this side, and you can see just looking at them that they're both different. So they're a similar angle on the top, but they're different on the bottom, and this has a plastic ridge. And even looking at them head on, this one has a piece of rubber that comes down further than this one. Not quite sure why they're different, to be honest with you. Maybe it's a heat thing, I'm not sure. But they are different, so that's why it's different plug cap numbers when you order them. So we're just going to let those sit there for now. And then we're going to pull our coil wires off. There's one coil wire. And then there's the other coil wire. And you can see the further back one is orange wire, and the further forward one is black wire. And now right on the top we have a 10 mil bolt, so we'll undo that. I'm just using a wrench. Once you get it broke free, it should spin pretty easy. So there's our bolt there. And now this coil should slide towards the front of the bike and out. And that's our old used coil right there. There's our original part number. And then we're going to push that old rubber out. It was still good and we could have reused this, but since we're so committed, we're just going to change it anyways. So as we can see, it just slides in there and then makes connection here with these guys here. So now we're going to grab our new coil and we're going to slip it in place. So we got our coil, and now we're going to grab our rubber damper. This will just help with the vibration and that kind of stuff. And this ring around it goes towards the coil. This way it sits in and doesn't fall out. So that just slips on like so. And now we're able to slip this backwards in the way it came. And I'm going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on these connections. You don't need to, but it's never a bad idea to use a little bit of dielectric grease. And I'm going to slip the back wire on before I slip it in. I think there's enough room to do that because it's hard to see it once it's in. It's kind of hidden a bit. There's that back wire on. And then we slip that in place. Alright, and now we're going to slip our bolt back in. Line that up. It should thread in pretty easy. And you can see that's our new damper. So the back of the coil is nice and secure. And now we're going to grab our wrench and tighten that up. That should be good there. And now we can slip our wire back on. And we had already slipped on the wire on the back. Alright, and we're just going to let these guys hang out right here for now. And we're going to swap the other coil, and then we'll do all the ends at the same time. We want to make sure we pull our spark plug wire off of the spark plug on this side on the other cylinder, or on the front cylinder. And now we're going to go to the other side of the bike. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing on this side. We'll pull this spark plug wire off. And we're going to undo this. We should just be able to put a screwdriver in that little crack there. And then spin it. And we're going to do the same up here, just so we can get our throttle cables out of our way. Just like so. Now we're just going to temporarily lift them up, just so we have a little more room. And we're going to unplug our coil. We'll unplug the back one too. And as I mentioned before, I put a dot on the outside one so I can't get them mixed up. And now we'll use our 10mm wrench and we'll get that nut off. Alright, and now this one, since the front of it's in that damper, we're going to kind of lift it up and pull it out and towards the back of the bike. Just like so. And there's our old coil there. We'll pull the damper out. We're going to put a new one in. Alright, now we're going to grab our new coil and damper, and we're going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on the coil connections too. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the other side. I'm going to put the back wire on before I slip it in, just so it's a little bit easier. And then we'll slip it in and secure it. So now we're going to slip our damper on. And now we're going to go reverse order as pulling it out, and we're going to go from the back in. We got that kind of started. Now we're getting our back coil wire on. And now we can get our bolt in. And now we're going to take our 10mm wrench and we're going to tighten the coil up. Alright, the coil's tight. And now we're going to put our last coil wire on. And now we're going to reroute our throttle cables back where they came from. So we know that goes there. And we know this goes right here. And we can close those back up. Perfect. So now our next step, we want to put our plug caps back on. Alright, so we're doing the number 1. The wire with number 1 on it, we're going to do that plug cap first. And that's the one that it looks like. Doesn't have that ridge up here. Has that little bit sticking out. And it's the part number 4VW-82370-00. And that's the same for the number 1 plug wire and the number 3 plug wire, which are both on the left-hand side of the bike. So you're not going to be able to see in there well enough. It's hard to see, not on the camera, but basically it looks like a little screw sticking out inside of here. And we're just going to screw it like we're tying up a regular bolt onto the plug wire, and that's going to make a good connection hopefully for us. And I am going to put a small little dab of dielectric grease to hopefully help with any corrosion or anything in the future. So I'm just going to put a little dab right on here, and that will help it slip on as well. So now we're just going to spin it. So we got our number 1. And this just slips straight on. And you'll feel it kind of bottom out. And now we just start spinning. And when you spin it on, you want to be pushing in at the same time, fairly firmly. You want to go till it gets tight. That one feels pretty good. That's going to sit something like that. And now we're going to do our number 2 plug wire. And this one's going to be the caps that are 4NK-82370-00. And that's the same for the number 4 and the number 2 spark plug wire. And we'll just give this a little tiny dab as well. And same thing, push in and turn firmly until it starts getting tight. And you can see that little bit of copper in there. That's what that screw inside the cap is latching onto to make the connection. And that feels pretty good. So now this number 2 one, we got to reroute it over to the other side. So we do that, kind of came underneath here. That clip goes on right there. This tie wrap goes on right here. And we'll put our plastic clip back on. Alright, we're going to switch to the other side of the bike, and we're going to do the other 2 plug caps now. Alright, I'm doing the number 3 plug wire. So we're using this style here. And that's good. We'll kind of run that to the other side of the bike. And now we'll do our plug cap that goes on the number 4 wire, which is that style there. And same thing again, on and just spin it on. And it's a good idea, once you get it spun all the way on, just give it a gentle tug just to make sure it's grabbing good. Alright, now we're ready to replace our spark plugs. But before we start pulling our spark plugs out, we're going to take some compressed air and blow out around the plugs to make sure there's no dirt or debris, so we don't want it falling in our cylinder. Alright, so we're going to make sure our plug wires are out of the way. And we're going to use the spark plug wrench that came with the bike, and 14 mil wrench. And just go on. We'll break them all free. Oh, and in behind our side cover, so this is the side cover off the left side of the bike. There's sticker in behind it. And right there it says spark plug gap. And then it says spark plug and gap. And they tell you what plug to run, which is the same number that we have, the NGK DPR 7EA-9. And then it gives you the gap, which should be 0.8 to 0.9 millimeter of spark plug gap. It's the same sticker behind the right side cover, except that sticker's in French. And the one on the left side cover is in English. So we're gonna look at the English one. So when they were talking about the spark plug gap, they're talking about the distance between the hook coming out and the electrode there. So basically this hook just completes the is grounded on the to the engine, so that's ground, and your positive's on the electrode, and that's what so when it sparks, it's jumping to through that gap, and that's what ignites the air fuel mixture. And the reason that it wants to arc to there is because that electrode is positively charged from the coil, and then this tab, you can see it's connected to the threads, so that grounds it to the engine, so that's our negative, so that's why it always wants to shoot there. So you want to check that gap. So you can get feeler gauges that are designed just for spark plugs. Oh, mine's at my dad's, so I'm just going to use this style. So I have a 0.45 millimeter and a 0.4 millimeter, so that puts me right in the middle between the 0.8 and the 0.9. And basically all you want to do is gently squeeze in, and there should be just a little bit of resistance and out, so that's set up perfectly. Typically out of the box they're good to go if you're running anything stock normally. Now that's what we're checking. And then one other thing we want to check, that white porcelain. I've had new plugs where that white porcelain is broken, and when you turn it upside down, it falls and closes the gap. And if that's the case, that spark plug will be doing nothing. So I like to give them a little shake and just make sure that porcelain hasn't fallen down. Because I had that happen on this bike one time, and since there's 2 plugs per cylinder, I didn't know I had an issue. I was just pulling the plugs out, just checking something else. I forgot why I had the plugs, if I was doing compression tests or what. And when I went to go put the plug back in, I heard and felt something, and look at the plug and it looked good. I went to go put it back in, and I noticed that that porcelain was falling over and closing the gap. And if that happens, that spark plug's not going to do anything. The bike itself, I didn't notice it running any differently, which I guess is good. So between the 2 spark plugs, you're getting a really good clean burn. So that's what we're looking for, and that's what, when we're doing the spark plug gap, that's what we're checking. Alright, so we're going to pull our spark plugs out one at a time. They look not too bad. And I usually have a little piece of cardboard so I can mark out where they came from, so I can look at them all after, make sure they're all about the same. And I also still have my compression test values on here. I had 160 psi in the front cylinder, and I had 155 psi in the back cylinder, which isn't too bad, especially considering the mileage. So we've already checked the gap on this one, and I like to put just a small little touch of never sees on here when I slip it on, or put it in. And then we'll put it back in our spark plug wrench. Now we'll screw it back in. Putting new plugs in usually is about a quarter to half a turn roughly once you get it snugged up for compressing that crush washer. And usually when you use old plugs, when you get them snug, usually it's about eighth of a turn to maybe a quarter turn. Alright, that's good there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of dielectric grease on the top of the spark plug. And now I'm going to slip that plug wire on, and that one plug is all done. And you should hear it snap on, and if you try to pull back up there, it should be biting pretty good, especially with these new plug wires and caps. That looks pretty good. So we're checking that porcelain, making sure that it's okay. And then we're checking our plug gap. That seems perfect. Now we're screwing it in by hand. That's snug right there. And that feels pretty good there. And we're going to try a little bit of dielectric grease down there. Yeah, like that. And now we can slip our plug wire on. Alright, that's all slipped on. So that's our back cylinder, number one cylinder, all done. And now we just got to do the plugs on the front cylinder. Oh, and one thing I should mention too, when you're getting spark plugs, at least NGK ones, you want to have the blue writing. There's different color writing, and from what I understand, it means a different grade of plug. So the blue writing is supposed to be the good ones. You can get brown writing on them, and those ones apparently aren't as good. So I was always told you always want blue writing on your NGK spark plugs, and that means it's the good plugs. All right, so we got the new coils in, we got the new plug caps on, and we got the new spark plugs in. So the next step, we're going to put the tank on, We could try to fire it up right now. There might be enough gas in the bowl to make it sputter. We'll see if we can get it to sputter before we put the tank on, so we know things are most likely working. So we'll go choke out. And we got a little shot there. Yeah, that's probably all the gas that was in there for the most part. But we could tell by the way it sounded, it was fire on both cylinders. So we're pretty confident putting the tank back on and closing the bike up that we're not going to have any issues. If you try to do that and your bike doesn't fire up, you just might not have enough gas in your bowl. And then, but worst case, you can run the bike without your cluster on. So you could always just set the tank kind of in place and connect your fuel line and test it. Make sure it runs before you close up the rest of the way, just so you don't have to tear everything back off. So I'm going to, off camera, throw this all back together, and then I'll be back. Alright, bike's all back together. I got the fuel connected and the fuel's turned on. So for putting the tank, the gauges, and the seat back on, check out episode 31. And for setting the clock, check out episode 32. I can also do it real quick right here. So we're going to turn the key on. So there's some mileage on the bike right now. 188,665 kilometers. So you just use this button to, that's your toggle through button. And then you hold both buttons. And now it starts flashing. And then you hit just that one button. And it is 12:42 right now. So we hit that button to cycle through till we hit 12. And then you hit the left one and it cycles to the other side. And we're going to go 43 probably by the time we get there. Double check. Perfect. Hit that again. They're both flashing. And then hit this one here. And the clock is set. So we're going to make sure the fuel's on. We're going to pull the choke out. And then we're going to let it run for a few minutes. Make sure everything seems okay. And then when we get it down, we'll take it for a run after and just triple check everything and make sure the bike performs okay. But we'll let it idle for a few minutes right now. The choke all the way off there. Bike's still slightly a little bit cold for that. But the bike seems good. So that's gonna be the end of this video. I'll take it for a ride first chance I get and make sure everything's good. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification button. Subscribing helps me out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. So the more subscribers, the better. Also check me out on Instagram at Car Garage. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.